I hate it when this happens. I just recorded a whole video for y'all with no sound. Wow. Well, that means I need to shorten what I have to say. That's just a little bit too long. Hello, we're just out in the park today, on the climb, and I'm going to share something with you that I learned. Be careful in the wading pools of ignorance. I learned something today that I did not realize, but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Do you know that you can sink the biggest ship with the smallest drill that can get through its hull? Now, I mean, I'm not saying this is necessarily easy to do, but if you understand engineering, you recognize that all you need to do is drill enough small holes in a particular ship to bring the amount of water it's taking on above what it can pump out, and it's done. And now, it may take a long time, but that's the ball game, folks. You can sink a ship, but no matter how big it is, I don't care how many, you drill enough small holes in it, it's over. Too much water getting in. I was today years old when I realized that. Now, I mean, don't take your little, I'm not talking about your little drill that you have at home somewhere. No, not that. It would take more than that. But just stay with me on this, okay? Why is this important? Our online life as African Americans, as black people, and also members of the black diaspora, I noticed a trend. It's actually been there for a while. You know, there are channels that have a good mix of entertainment and also mess. Because, you know, we all like a little drama from time to time. It can be entertaining. But there are some content creators and some channels. And I'm not going to put a name on anything because, you know, one person's drama is another person's sustenance. I'm not going to do that. But I want you to understand something. Name a channel that African Americans own and control. A major social media channel. Name one. I'll wait. Okay, if you need more time, pause the video. Okay, while you're working on that, understand that the big social media programs are owned by people who are definitely not us, and they are in business for profit. You do know that businesses and investments invest in each other. Investors invest in each other. So let's suppose that one of the most steady sources of income in the United States of America was the business of private prisons. Low entry costs, good dividends, guaranteed profit. That is the case. I used to get something that conservatives used to get called lifetime income report, and that's how I found it. I recently had the dubious distinction of finding out that one of the major banks in San Francisco is underwriting a large private prison in Alabama. That's a whole other video. I can't do that. Now, you have to consider these new private prisons are not being built for people who are already in prison. The United States has a dubious multiple, it's more than 1 million, it's more like 2 million people in prison, rolling them in and out. And this is good investment. So, if I was only interested in making money, and I wanted to make sure that for 2030, because the people that Joe Biden crime bill put in prison 28 years ago are getting a little older, if I wanted to make sure I had a fresh, new set of bodies for 2030, and I was also looking ahead to 2050, this is what I would do. And when you see content creators that encourage mess between black men and women, understand the game being played. I would encourage black men and women to hate each other. And I would particularly encourage black men not to work. I would encourage them to live on women. I would encourage them to not to get those things in the 21st century economy they need to compete. And bonus points for the 21st century economy being such that, you know, competition is not as important as collaboration in many senses. I would encourage them to be powerless gods, depending on the very people that they put down. I would encourage them. And then I would allow black women to have more platforms whereby to learn how to operate economically in the 21st century. Because what that's going to mean is that you're going to have a lot of young men who are going to get cut off sooner by the women, and that's going to encourage them to be violent. I already have that going on. 29 times a day. And that's going to mean the prisons in this generation will be filled. And also any children that those men and women still have. And that takes care of the next generation. Remember that you live in a country where a war had to be fought so that slavery would not continue in perpetuity. The vice president of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, you can look this up, made something called the Cornerstone Speech. And he was very clear about why they felt that their birthright was to have slavery forever. What you don't realize about the Union is that Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant were also married to the daughters of slave owners. Because what you did in those days, everybody had this idea about upward mobility. If you were poor, you might get a slave, get a land grant, get a slave, or marry to someone who was already there. Because some slave owners didn't have sons. So what you don't realize is that Abraham Lincoln set it up so that slavery would continue in another way. You can go read Slavery by Another Name. I believe the author is Michelle Alexander. Or you can watch the documentary 13 to break this down. Abraham Lincoln set it up that slavery was abolished in all United States and territories. However, there's an exception. Felony imprisonment. So let's back up, shall we? So we're on platforms we don't own, being encouraged to act a straight fool. And you notice the ship of our state is continuing to go down. Those wading pools of drama and ignorance have proposed by to the ship. And why? Because as the black community continues to go down, there will be a constant stream of black bodies that make sure people have profits on the black prison level. That's what's going on. Because if you look at how the owners of social media companies invest, you will find that there's overlap. Media companies, pharmaceutical companies, pesticide companies, prison companies. Because these things will always be needed. And as the recession picks up and people look for more steady earnings, you will see this more and more and more. Do some research. Take some time that you would spend being involved in unnecessary drama and do some research. Don't play in the wading pools of ignorance. You can't afford to do that. And although most of my audience is black women, for those of you that are black men, I implore you with your brothers. Stop listening to people that tell you you're okay as you are, and that these women should just be submitting and bowing down to you, and it's all women's fault that things have gone wrong. You are being primed to be dead or in prison. Don't listen to people that give you excuses for not upholding your duties as a man, as a protector and provider of your family. Don't do it. Your sons are being primed for prison, and your daughters are being primed to deliver grandsons to prison. That's what's going on. Ladies, you already know. Now, there are more channels that encourage black women to step away from all this. More avenues of escape are being left. But it's still important what you spend your time listening to. Don't let anybody tell you more than once. Don't let any content creator tell you more than once that you're not worth anything. And you have to constantly spend your life pleasing men. And while you're on the subject, don't let women butter you up with foolishness. You don't want to have black children? Don't lay down with black men. Simple. It really is. Every other thing being talked about is nonsense. Go ahead and learn 21st century economy. Get with like-minded people. And some of those like-minded people may be black men. But get yourself situated. Learn about what's really going on in the world around you and find your place. And gentlemen, I mean this for you as well. Learn about what's really going on in the world and find your place. And I did not just say the United States of America. I don't care who doesn't like it. We are moving into a global economy. Meaning, on one hand, that if you only understand earned income, you're going to be competing with everybody else who's on this page, and there's billions of them. So it behooves you to go find out about other sources of income. I mention investing in business all the time. Because I am not a financial advisor, I'm taking my time how I want to talk about these things, and I want to refer you to better, content creators who can do a better job actually kind of walking through these things. But it behooves you to get out of the rat race, and that's the other reason why. Please stop with wading pools of ignorance. If all anybody's talking about is job, job is just one of 3 aspects. Please find out what's really going on in capitalist society economically. Please find out what's really going on in a society in terms of what people are investing in. Please find out what's really going on in terms of global movements and global trends, and prepare yourself. 2025 and the plans that people have for 2025 to 2030 are coming. There's nothing we can do about it. I think I didn't mention in this video, but the gentrification of San Francisco was planned out in 1947. It was completed by the middle of the 20th century. Go find out what's going on around you. Go get your planning commission documents from your locale. Find out where your local politicians are on those planning documents. I've mentioned it before. You don't have to be in the streets protesting, and there's way more for you to work on than just every 4 years figuring out you're going to vote on. But in the meantime, in between time, find out who supports what, and if you don't want to do anything else, discipline your dollar to go deal with it. Go, please, go be in pools of people with information that talk about real things. And then when you've had enough of that, go ahead and rest, because you need peace to be able to recover yourself, and also to be able to take in information and use it correctly outside of desperate mind state. Okay, that's enough. This is part of my peaceful Saturday. I'm just sitting out here in the park. The fog is kind of flowing by. There's sunshine and fog mixed. So it's going to get colder here soon. So I'm going to go ahead and start my walk back to the house. Y'all have a good weekend. Thank you for listening. Stay out of the way of pools of ignorance. That may be one whole 2 minute in a sinking ship. Thank you for listening.